If you've ever spent any time trying to set up an AI chief of staff or an executive assistant using Claude, this video is for you. If you've tried spending time setting up OpenClaw and got lost in the details, this video is for you. If you haven't done either of those things, but let's say you're ping-ponging between to-do apps and you're looking for a better way to keep track of all of the things that you need to get done without spending all of the time managing yourself, this video is for you. All right, let's dive in. I'm going to show you how to set up AI that keeps track of the things that you have to get done and reminds you about things so that nothing falls through the cracks. All right, so Mem Agent is a floating entry point that's always available on your computer that you can use a hotkey to save information as well as to recall information from anywhere on your laptop. I'm going to show you how to use it here in a second. It's better with the proactive plan because what proactive does is it then builds that mental model of your tasks, projects, and goals in the background and uses it to remind you of information at the right time so that you basically have this AI that's serving as that executive assistant chief of staff 24/7 on your behalf. So let's start a trial. Awesome. All right, we are into the app. So to get started, you'll see it directs you to try out Mem Agent with the push to remember experience. And so by default, it's set to the right option key on your Mac or a right control key on Windows. You can change it if you'd like, but we're going to keep it right option. And I just want Mem to actually remember a couple movies that I want to watch soon. And so I'm just going to press and hold the right option key and talk out loud for a second. I want to watch Backrooms and Obsession at some point soon. And you'll notice that I saw a brief check mark and then it went away. The nice thing is that after you use push to remember, Mem will do the work in the background. So if you're in the middle of doing other things on your computer, you can very quickly give it some piece of information to remember and it'll go off and do that. So you'll see here Mem has created this note on my behalf and it has the 2 movies in here as well as the times that it's going to remind me. At any point in time, I can peek inside Mem's brain and see what it's thinking about. I can see right now it's not tracking anything yet on my behalf. Maybe I want it to always suggest a movie for me every Friday night. Let's add that. Can you always suggest a movie for me to watch Friday evenings, maybe around 5 o'clock? And you'll see that the agent has received my message and is now going to think through that and interpret it. What's neat about how Mem Agent works, unlike Claude, which has strict scheduled tasks, Mem Agent can actually operate very dynamically. And so by asking it to, for example, send you a briefing ahead of every meeting with a certain person in your contact book, it will leverage your calendar to only send you those right before those meetings. And it doesn't have to be tied to a specific day of the week every week, for example. In this case, this was a weekly routine. And so I see here that there is a response. I'll suggest a movie for you every Friday around 5 p.m. Awesome. So I see that. Now I can always see the routines that Mem is tracking on my behalf. Again, up here, I can peek inside of Mem's brain, go to routines, and I'll see here it looks like there's the Friday movie suggestion routine that's already set up for me. Let's say I was somewhere else on my computer, so I'll just simulate that by opening up Chrome. And I was talking to somebody and they asked, what are these horror movies that you recommend? And I don't remember what they were called. I can use push to remember to bring information up to me. What were those horror films I wanted to watch? I pressed the option key, held it down, asked the question and released. I can continue browsing or preparing a draft or whatever I was doing on my computer. And when that answer is brought back up for me by Mem, it'll just appear in the bottom right corner of my screen. Here it is. The 2 horror films were Backrooms and Obsession. They're in your near-term watch list, with a link for me to open that note up if I'd like to. So push to remember can be used for both input, or as we call it, capture, as well as recall. Mem Agent is really powerful in that it's available on your desktop all the time, but you can actually use it in other places too. On the Mem iOS app, the same button appears here in the corner of the app. And if you press and hold that button, it enters a voice input where you can tell it something that you want to remember. You could brain dump a grocery shopping list, a draft of something that you're working on for work, and when you're done, you just hit the check mark and it will decide what to do with that input. Back here on desktop, one last thing I'll show you is that if you want to use Mem Agent in places beyond your phone and your laptop, you can also connect it on other apps. So we support Mem Agent through iMessage, WhatsApp, and Slack so far.